The day my life changed forever started like any other Thursday. I woke up at 6 a.m. in our penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park, made coffee in our designer kitchen, and prepared breakfast for a husband who barely looked at me anymore. My name is Alexandra Chun, though most people call me Alex, and I thought I knew exactly who I was. The devoted wife of real estate mogul Marcus Webb, daughter of a quiet accountant, and a woman who had sacrificed everything for love. I had no idea how wrong I was about all of it. Marcus came into the kitchen that morning wearing his expensive Tom Ford suit, smelling of cologne that cost more than most people's monthly rent. He was handsome, devastatingly so, with his sharp jawline, steel gray eyes, and the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. I'd fallen for him 6 years ago when I was just a paralegal at a small law firm, and he was the hottest new developer in Manhattan. He'd swept me off my feet with private jet trips, jewelry I was afraid to wear, and promises of a love that would last forever. The first year of our marriage had been everything I dreamed of, but somewhere around year 2 things started to change. The business dinners ran later. The phone calls he took in other rooms became more frequent. The way he looked at me shifted from adoration to something closer to tolerance. By year 5, I was living with a stranger who happened to share my bed. By year 6, I was living with a stranger who didn't even do that anymore. "I'll be late tonight," Marcus said without looking up from his phone. "Dinner meeting with the investors for the Brooklyn project." "Another one?" I tried to keep the bitterness out of my voice. "That's the third this week." His eyes flicked to me, cold and dismissive. "Yes, Alex. Another one. Some of us have to work for a living." The implication stung. I'd stopped working at the law firm when we got married. Marcus had insisted he made enough for both of us, that he wanted a wife who could travel with him, be available for the social events that came with his status. I'd agreed, thinking it was romantic. Now it just made me dependent. "I work," I said quietly. "I manage this household. I organize your events. You spend my money and go to lunch with your friends," he interrupted. "Don't pretend it's the same thing." He left without kissing me goodbye. He hadn't kissed me in months. I stood in that kitchen for a long time after he left, staring at the untouched breakfast I'd made, feeling the familiar ache of loneliness that had become my constant companion. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Rebecca. "Coffee at 10? You sound like you need it." I did need it. I texted back my agreement and spent the next few hours getting ready, applying makeup to hide the circles under my eyes, choosing an outfit that Marcus would have approved of back when he cared what I wore. Rebecca was already at our usual spot, a small cafe in the West Village, when I arrived. She took one look at my face and ordered me a double espresso without asking. "That bad?" she said. "Is it that obvious?" "Honey, I've known you since college. You look like you've been crying every night for a month. What's going on with Marcus?" I wanted to tell her everything, the distance, the coldness, the growing suspicion that he was having an affair. But saying it out loud would make it real, and I wasn't ready for that. "We're just going through a rough patch," I said instead. "All couples do." Rebecca didn't look convinced, but before she could press further, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. "What?" I asked. She hesitated, then turned her phone to show me. It was an Instagram post from a mutual acquaintance, a photo from some charity gala the night before. And there, in the background, was Marcus, with his arm around a stunning redhead in a dress that probably cost more than a car. The caption, "Spotted. Real estate mogul Marcus Webb and gallery owner Sienna Clark looking very cozy at the Children's Fund Gala. New power couple alert?" My hand started shaking. He told me he couldn't go to that gala. He said he had to work late on the Brooklyn project. "Alex." Rebecca's voice was gentle, pitying, and I hated it. "No. There has to be an explanation. Maybe she's an investor. Maybe. Look at how he's looking at her, Alex. Look at his hand placement. That's not business." She was right. I could see it in his eyes, the same way he used to look at me in the beginning. Interest. Desire. Possession. He was looking at this Sienna Clark the way he hadn't looked at me in years. I spent the rest of the day in a fog. Rebecca wanted to come home with me, but I sent her away. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what to do. By the time Marcus came home at 11 p.m., smelling of expensive wine and perfume that wasn't mine, I'd made my decision. I was going to confront her. This Sienna Clark. I was going to find out exactly what was going on, and then I was going to fight for my marriage. It took me 2 days to work up the courage and to find out where Sienna's gallery was located. It was in Chelsea, naturally, a sleek modern space showing contemporary art that I didn't understand but that probably sold for 6 figures apiece. I dressed carefully that morning, choosing my most expensive outfit, the jewelry Marcus had given me in better times, armor for a battle I wasn't sure I could win. The gallery was mostly empty when I walked in except for a receptionist who barely glanced at me, and a few people wandering among the exhibits. And there, in the back, standing in front of a massive abstract painting, was her. Sienna Clark was even more beautiful in person. Tall, willowy, with cascading red hair and the kind of effortless elegance that some women are just born with. She wore a simple black dress that probably cost thousands and looked like it cost nothing at all. She was everything I wasn't: confident, successful, independent. I hated her immediately. Sienna Clark? My voice came out stronger than I felt. She turned, and her green eyes assessed me with casual interest. Yes? Can I help you? I'm Alexandra Webb, Marcus Webb's wife. To her credit, she didn't even flinch. Ah, I wondered when you might show up. The casual admission shocked me more than a denial would have. So you admit you're having an affair with my husband? She smiled, and it wasn't cruel exactly, but it wasn't kind either. Affair implies something sordid and hidden. Marcus and I are in love, Mrs. Webb. He's planning to leave you. Surely you must know that. The words hit me like a physical blow. He never said. Of course he hasn't. He's waiting for the right time. You're not exactly the type to handle rejection well, are you? All that desperate clinging, the neediness. He finds it exhausting. You don't know anything about our marriage, I said, but my voice shook. I know he hasn't touched you in over a year. I know he finds you boring and provincial. I know he only married you because you were young and malleable, and he thought you'd be a good society wife. But you're not, are you? You're just ordinary. Each word was a precisely aimed dart, and they all hit their marks. I felt tears burning in my eyes and hated myself for it, for proving her right about the neediness, the weakness. He loves me, I said, knowing even as I said it that it wasn't true anymore if it ever had been. He loves what I can give him, Sienna corrected. Status, connections, a partnership of equals. Not a dependent housewife who has nothing to offer but demands for attention. I don't remember making the decision to slap her. One moment I was standing there, shaking with humiliation and rage, and the next my hand was connecting with her face with a crack that echoed through the gallery. Sienna's head snapped to the side, and for a moment we both stood frozen. Then she turned back to me, her cheek reddening, her eyes blazing with fury. You stupid little bitch, she hissed. You're going to regret that. She pulled out her phone, and I knew she was calling Marcus. I should have left then. I should have run out of that gallery and gotten as far away as possible. But I was rooted to the spot, shock and adrenaline making me immobile. Marcus arrived 20 minutes later. I'd been standing there the whole time, Sienna on the other side of the gallery shooting me venomous looks while the receptionist pretended not to notice the drama unfolding. When Marcus walked through the door, he didn't even glance at me. He went straight to Sienna, cupping her face gently, examining the red mark I'd left. Are you okay? His voice was tender in a way it hadn't been with me in years. She attacked me, Sienna said, and I noticed she was leaning into his touch, playing it up. She just came in here and started hitting me. That's not. I slapped her once because she was. Enough. Marcus finally turned to me, and the look in his eyes made me step back. I'd seen Marcus angry before, but never at me. Never like this. What the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with me? She's your mistress. She told me you're planning to leave me. So you assault her? In public? Do you have any idea what kind of lawsuit she could bring against you? Against me? I don't care. You're my husband. You're supposed to. I'm supposed to what, Alex? Stay trapped in a loveless marriage because you're too pathetic to see it's over? I was trying to handle this gracefully, but you couldn't even give me that, could you? The words were like knives. Marcus, please. We can work on this. We can go to counseling, we can. I don't want to work on it. I don't want counseling. I don't want you. He said it flatly, matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. I want a divorce, Alex. I've wanted one for over a year. I was just waiting for the right time to tell you. The right time. I was crying now, openly, not caring how weak it made me look. When would the right time have been, Marcus? When? Not in public, with you making a scene and embarrassing me in front of the woman I love. He said it so casually, the woman I love, like the 6 years we'd spent together meant nothing. Please, I whispered. Please don't do this. Go home, Alex. I'll have my lawyer contact you next week. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. He turned back to Sienna, dismissing me completely. I stood there for another moment, tears streaming down my face, before I finally forced my legs to move. I stumbled out of the gallery into the bright Chelsea afternoon, nearly colliding with several people on the sidewalk. I don't remember getting into a taxi or giving the driver my address. I don't remember the ride home, or getting into the elevator of our building. I came back to awareness standing in our apartment, in the home I tried so hard to make perfect for him, surrounded by the life I'd thought we were building together. And then I heard his key in the lock. Marcus came in 30 minutes after me. I'd been standing in the living room, still wearing my coat, still crying. He looked at me with irritation like I was a problem he needed to solve. You need to leave, he said. Pack a bag and go to a hotel. I'll pay for it until we can figure out the living situation, but I can't have you here right now. This is my home, I said. Our home. It's my apartment, Alex. My name is on the deed. Everything here is mine. You have nothing. I have rights. I'm your wife. He laughed and it was ugly. You really want to do this? You want to fight me? Do you have any idea how expensive my lawyers are? What kind of prenup you signed when we got married? I did know. I'd signed it in a haze of love and champagne, barely reading it, trusting that our love would last forever and it would never matter. The prenup gave me almost nothing in case of divorce. A small settlement, nothing compared to his wealth. I'll get a lawyer, I said. I'll fight it. With what money, Alex? You don't work. You have no income. No savings of your own. Everything you have I gave you. And I can take it all away just as easily. The reality of my situation crashed over me. He was right. I had nothing. I'd given up my career, my independence, everything for him. And now I was trapped. I need time, I said desperately. I need to figure out where to go, what to do. Please, Marcus. Please just give me a few days. He sighed like I was being unreasonable. Fine. 1 week. But you sleep in the guest room and you stay out of my way. And Alex. He moved closer, and something in his expression made my blood run cold. If you pull another stunt like you did today, if you embarrass me or Sienna again, you'll regret it. Do you understand? I nodded, too scared and defeated to do anything else. That night, lying in the guest room bed, I called the only person I could think of, my father. David Chun had been an accountant my whole life. A quiet man who'd raised me alone after my mother died when I was 8. We'd never been close exactly. He was always working, always stressed about money. But he was my father. He was supposed to be there for me. Dad, I said when he answered, my voice breaking. I need help. Marcus is leaving me. He's kicking me out. I don't know what to do. There was a long pause. I'm sorry, sweetheart. That must be very difficult. Can I come stay with you? Just for a little while until I figure things out. Another pause, longer this time. Alex, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm traveling a lot for work right now. I wouldn't be around much. I don't care. I just need somewhere to go. Look, I'll send you some money, okay? Enough for a hotel for a month or 2. But you need to figure this out on your own. You're an adult. You made your choices. The rejection hurt more than I expected. Dad, please. I'm your daughter. And I'm doing what I can. I'll wire you $5,000 tomorrow. Use it wisely. I have to go, I have an early meeting. He hung up before I could say anything else. I lay there in the dark, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. I had no job, no money, no home, no husband, and a father who couldn't be bothered to help me. I'd never felt so powerless, so utterly defeated. I should have just left. I should have taken whatever money I could scrape together and disappeared. But I was angry, hurt, and desperate. And desperate people make stupid decisions. The next day, I went back to Sienna's gallery. I didn't have a plan exactly. I just knew I needed to confront her again, to make her understand what she'd done, what she was destroying. Maybe I thought I could appeal to some sense of sisterhood, some understanding between women. Maybe I was just looking for someone to blame besides Marcus. The gallery was busier this time, some kind of opening or event. Sienna was holding court near the back, surrounded by admirers, looking radiant in a wine-colored dress. I pushed through the crowd toward her. "We need to talk," I said when I reached her. She turned, saw me, and her expression hardened. "You need to leave. Now. Before I call security. Just give me 5 minutes. Please. I just want to understand." "Understand what? That Marcus chose me over you? That's not complicated, sweetheart. He wanted someone on his level. You were always going to be temporary. Did he tell you I gave up my career for him? That I wanted to be a lawyer? That I had dreams and ambitions before I met him? And you let him talk you out of them?" Sienna said with a shrug. "That's not my problem. That's yours. You made yourself into nothing. Don't blame me for Marcus seeing you clearly. You're destroying a marriage." "I'm not destroying anything. It was already dead. I'm just helping him bury it." I felt the rage building again, the same fury that had made me slap her before. But this time I was aware of the crowd, the phones that would capture anything I did. I forced myself to take a deep breath. "He'll do the same thing to you," I said quietly. "In a few years, when you're not new and exciting anymore, he'll find someone else. That's who he is." For just a second I saw doubt flicker in her eyes. But then she smiled, cold and confident. "Maybe. But at least I'll have had him at his best. You just got the scraps." I left before I could do something I'd regret. But I was shaking with fury as I walked out onto the street. I wasn't looking where I was going, wasn't paying attention to anything except the rage and humiliation burning through me. And that's when I heard the squeal of tires. I turned just in time to see Marcus's black Mercedes coming straight at me. I had a split second to wonder why he was there, why he was driving so fast before the car hit me. The pain was instantaneous and overwhelming. I flew backward, landing hard on the concrete. I heard screaming, maybe mine, maybe someone else's. I tried to move and couldn't. My legs wouldn't respond. There was blood, so much blood. Marcus got out of the car. I saw him through a haze of pain and shock. He walked toward me slowly, and when he leaned down, his face was calm. Too calm. "I warned you," he said softly, so only I could hear. "I told you not to embarrass me again. You should have listened. You hit me." I could barely form words. "On purpose. You walked out in front of my car. Everyone saw it. You were distraught, unstable after our separation. It was an accident." He said it clearly, firmly, like he was rehearsing a story. "A tragic accident." Then he stood up and started yelling for help, his voice full of false panic. "Someone call 911. She just stepped right out in front of me. I couldn't stop in time. The ambulance came. The police came." I tried to tell them it wasn't an accident, that he'd done it on purpose, but I was going into shock, my words slurred and incoherent. They didn't listen. They just saw a distraught wife who'd walked in front of her husband's car. I woke up 3 days later in the hospital. The doctor's face told me everything before he said a word. "Mrs. Webb, I'm afraid I have some difficult news. The impact caused severe trauma to your spinal cord. We've done everything we can, but you're paralyzed from the waist down. The damage is permanent." Paralyzed. The word didn't seem real. I looked down at my legs, tried to move them, felt nothing. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. Marcus was there, playing the devoted husband for the doctors and nurses. He held my hand, stroked my hair, made all the right sympathetic noises. And when we were alone, he leaned in close. "The police ruled it an accident," he whispered. "You're not going to say anything different, are you? Because if you do, if you try to claim I did this on purpose, I'll make sure you end up in a psychiatric facility. Unstable wife makes wild accusations about loving husband. Who do you think they'll believe?" I believed him. I knew he had the money, the connections, the lawyers to make it happen. I was trapped, broken, and helpless. "The divorce papers will be ready next week," he continued. "You'll sign them and take the settlement in the prenup. In exchange, I'll make sure you have the best care money can buy. Fight me and you'll have nothing. Do you understand? I understood. I understood that the man I'd loved had deliberately crippled me to get rid of me. That he'd gotten away with it. That there was nothing I could do. He left me there, in that hospital bed with my shattered body and shattered life. The nurses were kind, the doctors professional, but I'd never felt so alone. I couldn't even call my father, the man who'd been too busy to help me when I'd asked, who'd be even less interested now that I was a burden. But 3 days later, someone unexpected walked into my hospital room. My father. Except he didn't look like the David Chen I knew. He wore an expensive suit, the kind Marcus would wear. 2 men in dark suits flanked him, and his entire demeanor was different, straighter, more commanding, more dangerous. Alexandra, he said, and even his voice was different, harder. We need to talk. Dad? What are you doing here? He pulled a chair up to my bedside and sat down, his expression unreadable. I need to tell you some things. Things I should have told you years ago. But first, I need you to tell me exactly what happened with Marcus. Everything. Don't leave anything out. Something in his tone made me obey. I told him all of it, the affair, the confrontations with Sienna, Marcus deliberately hitting me with his car, his threats afterward. My father's expression grew darker with every word. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Alexandra, I'm not an accountant. I've never been an accountant. That was a cover. A way to stay close to you without exposing you to my real life. What are you talking about? My real name is David Chan, but most people in my world know me as Dragon. I'm the head of the Chan organization, one of the most powerful criminal enterprises on the East Coast. We control shipping, construction, real estate, casinos. We have connections in every major city, politicians and judges on our payroll, and resources that most people can't even imagine. I stared at him, unable to process what he was saying. You're in the mafia? Not the mafia. We're not Italian. But yes, organized crime. I took over from your grandfather 30 years ago. I've kept it hidden from you your entire life because I wanted you to have a normal life, a clean life. Your mother knew and she hated it. When she died, I promised myself I'd keep you away from this world. That you'd never have to know what I really was. I don't understand. Why are you telling me this now? His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the ruthlessness that must have made him successful in his business. Because Marcus Webb made a critical mistake. He hurt my daughter. And now he's going to learn exactly who he's been dealing with. Over the next week, as I lay in that hospital bed learning to navigate my new reality, my father told me everything. About the Chun organization's reach, about the legitimate businesses they owned, about the network of loyalty and fear he'd built over decades. About the fact that he'd been quietly watching my marriage, disapproving of Marcus but respecting my choice to be with him. I knew he was cheating, my father said. I knew about Sienna Clark 6 months ago. I had people watching him, making sure he didn't hurt you financially. I was going to step in if the divorce got ugly. But this. He gestured to my paralyzed legs. This I didn't anticipate. This I won't forgive. What are you going to do? I asked, part of me terrified of the answer. What I should have done when you first married him. Teach him that some people are protected, and there are consequences for hurting them. But I'm not going to do anything without your permission, Alexandra. You're my daughter and this is your life. Tell me what you want. I thought about it. About Marcus walking free, already planning his life with Sienna. About him threatening me, intimidating me, leaving me broken and helpless. About the smug certainty in his eyes that he'd won. I want him to pay, I said quietly. I want him to lose everything the way I have. I want him to know what it feels like to be powerless. My father smiled, and it was a terrible thing to see. Consider it done. The plan unfolded over the next 3 months while I was in rehabilitation, learning to use a wheelchair, learning to navigate a world that suddenly had barriers everywhere. My father's people went to work, and I learned that having the resources of a criminal organization at your disposal could accomplish things I'd never imagined. Until next time, stay strong, stay fierce, and remember, sometimes the person you underestimate is the most dangerous person in the room. We'll see you in the next video.